Millions of people wear smart devices every day. They count steps, track sleep, and monitor heart rate.
Yet inside the most advanced hospital units, patients are still surrounded by cables, monitors, and wires.
This is the technological paradox of modern medicine.
And wearable systems combined with artificial intelligence are beginning to challenge it.
Consumer technology evolves extremely fast. Millions of people wear devices that continuously measure biological signals.
But inside intensive care units, patients are still connected to cables, monitors, and physical infrastructure.
Mobility becomes limited. Nursing procedures become more complex.
The paradox is clear. The most advanced medicine in the world is still physically wired.
There is an important technical distinction. A sensor is not the same thing as a wearable device.
A sensor simply detects a physical or biological signal. It measures and records.
A wearable device is an integrated system that includes sensors, microcontrollers, wireless communication, and data transmission.
This architecture transforms a simple signal into a continuous clinical data stream.
Behind every clinical wearable, there is a layered technological architecture. It starts at the skin, where physiological signals are captured.
Embedded microcontrollers process those signals. They filter noise and prepare the data for transmission.
Wireless antennas then transmit the data in real time.
This invisible pipeline transforms a local biological signal into distributed clinical information.
To understand clinical wearables, we must start from the physics. A wearable is not a magic box. It is a bundle of sensors measuring different physiological signals.
One of the most common technologies is photoplethysmography, abbreviated PPG. It uses light to estimate pulsatile blood volume and derive heart rate.
Electrocardiography, or ECG, measures the electrical depolarization of the heart. When electrodes are stable, it provides precise cardiac timing.
Inertial sensors such as accelerometers and gyroscopes measure motion and posture. They help identify when physiological signals are corrupted by movement.
Temperature sensors provide additional context. Skin temperature differs from core temperature, but its trends can reveal physiological changes.
Bioimpedance sensors estimate tissue resistance by injecting a tiny current. This can provide information about fluid shifts or respiratory variation.
The key idea is simple. Wearables do not measure diseases. They measure physiological signals.
And every signal is imperfect, influenced by physiology, hardware design, and noise.
Wearables do not output clinical variables directly. They first produce raw waveforms that are often noisy.
Signal conditioning begins with filtering. Bandpass filters isolate the frequency range where the physiological signal is expected.
Motion artifact suppression is essential. Algorithms use accelerometer data to detect and correct corrupted segments.
Once the waveform is stabilized, peak detection algorithms identify physiological events such as heartbeats.
From these events, we calculate interbeat intervals. These intervals are the basis of heart rate variability.
Time domain metrics like RMSSD describe short-term variability in cardiac rhythm.
At this stage, the waveform becomes a structured set of numerical features.
And those features are what machine learning models actually analyze.
Once physiological features are extracted, they form multivariate time series. Each moment contains several measurements at once.
Machine learning models transform this time series into a probability of a future clinical event.
Classical algorithms, such as gradient boosting or random forest, work on engineered features.
Recurrent neural networks and LSTM architectures capture temporal dependencies across time.
More recent transformer models use attention mechanisms to learn long-range temporal relationships.
But architecture is only one element. Training requires labeled data and careful control of bias and overfitting.
In wearable monitoring, prediction is continuous rather than static.
Risk evolves as new physiological data arrive.
Evaluating predictive models requires more than simple accuracy.
Sensitivity measures how many true events are detected. Specificity measures how many non-events are correctly excluded.
The area under the ROC curve summarizes discrimination across thresholds.
However, high discrimination does not guarantee clinical usefulness.
Calibration verifies that predicted probabilities match observed event rates.
Operational metrics also matter, especially false alarms per patient day.
Another important dimension is time to detection advantage.
Earlier detection can change clinical outcomes, even if overall discrimination is moderate.
Consider early sepsis detection as an example application.
The model receives time series data such as heart rate trends, respiratory patterns, and perfusion-related signals.
These signals are analyzed across temporal windows spanning several hours.
The output is a dynamic risk score that evolves as new data arrive.
A clinical threshold determines when an alert is generated.
Evaluation therefore includes discrimination, calibration, and operational alert burden.
The central clinical question is timing.
Does the system detect deterioration earlier than standard clinical recognition?
Predictive models produce continuous risk scores.
But clinical systems require discrete decisions, which means selecting a threshold.
Lower thresholds increase sensitivity, but generate more false alerts.
Higher thresholds improve specificity, but may miss early deterioration.
Each threshold corresponds to a point on the ROC curve.
In practice, the critical metric is often alerts per patient day.
Even a strong model becomes unusable if alert frequency overwhelms clinicians.
Threshold choice therefore reflects both statistical and operational considerations.
Neonatal monitoring represents one of the most demanding contexts for wearable physiology.
Signals are small, perfusion is unstable, and motion artifacts are amplified.
Even minor variations in interbeat intervals may precede clinically significant events.
Models therefore often focus on temporal patterns rather than single thresholds.
Early apnea or bradycardia detection illustrates this principle.
In fragile populations, small physiological variations can have major clinical implications.
Pressure injury prevention focuses more on behavior than pure physiology.
Sensors track posture and immobility using accelerometers and gyroscopes.
From motion data, the system extracts features such as turning frequency and immobility duration.
These behavioral patterns are transformed into dynamic risk scores.
Alerts can then recommend simple actions such as repositioning.
This enables closed-loop prevention, sensing, prediction, intervention, and verification.
Predictive models are only as reliable as the signals they receive.
Motion artifacts, sensor drift, and unstable skin contact can degrade wearable signals.
Wireless connectivity may also introduce missing data segments.
These problems propagate through the pipeline and distort extracted features.
Another risk is distribution shift between training data and real-world signals.
When this occurs, model performance can silently deteriorate.
Signal quality monitoring, therefore, becomes essential.
If the signal fails, prediction fails.
After deployment, predictive models do not remain stable.
Clinical environments evolve, devices change, and patient populations shift.
This phenomenon is known as model drift.
Continuous monitoring of performance metrics is therefore necessary.
Recalibration or retraining may be required when drift appears.
Proper governance also requires traceability and auditing.
Without lifecycle management, performance can decay silently.
A clinical model must be maintained like any other hospital infrastructure.
Once monitoring becomes reliable, it no longer needs to be confined to a hospital bed.
Patients can be followed across intensive care, step-down units, and even their homes.
What travels is not the device, but the evolving risk trajectory.
Shared dashboards and centralized analytics allow distributed monitoring.
This enables earlier discharge and continuous post-acute surveillance.
The hospital without walls is a systems architecture rather than a metaphor.
Predictive models estimate risk, but they do not make clinical decisions.
Algorithms optimize statistical objectives rather than clinical responsibility.
A threshold may trigger an alert, but treatment decisions remain human.
Clinical judgment integrates context beyond measurable variables.
In distributed monitoring systems, accountability must remain clear.
Wearable intelligence augments human decisions rather than replacing them.
Thank you for watching. For the full article and additional resources, visit the site and subscribe for future videos on medicine, technology, and artificial intelligence in healthcare.